So you probably heard about this tragedy in New York City. 18-year-old Tessa Majors was stabbed to death last Wednesday. A 13-year-old boy, you heard that right, 13, is in police custody and charged with second-degree murder. Police are looking for a 14-year-old boy who was on his way in for questioning yesterday, but was last seen running from a car. Now, this all comes after an NYPD Union Chief made controversial remarks about the case, although he's not part of the investigation. Listen.
We have an 18-year-old college student at one of the most prestigious universities in the country is murdered in a park. And what I'm understanding is she was in the park to buy marijuana.
Wow. And Jeff, he has been largely criticized because, number one, he does not know that. According to eyewitnesses there, according to people that know her, she was jogging. She was not buying marijuana. Number two, even the mayor has come forward saying, stop weaponizing her murder for your purposes to fight against the legalization of marijuana and to promote criminalization of marijuana. This isn't the time nor the place. How would you feel as a parent if you saw this happening when your daughter was just murdered?
I mean, this guy has a past. I wouldn't feel good about it. I think, you know, you see how angry you are. I could see everyone's faces on here. I'm worried about this little girl. I'm not really worried about this guy and whether he plugs marijuana in his statement. That means nothing to anybody. Speaking of social media, this girl's all over social media.
Yeah.
She is on everybody's feed. I see her face everywhere. I was like, when are we going to talk about this girl? Finally, we have a chance to talk to her. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. I don't care that he said marijuana. I know you're upset about that.
As a parent,
I don't care.
I would be
I don't care.
furious.
I'm more furious about what we're looking over that this 13-year-old was stabbed to death.
Well, that's the point.
Or 18-year-old was
But no
stabbed
one's
to death.
talking about
but
that.
Why are we talking about marijuana?
Because of him. This is a very well-respected He's attached to the NYPD.
That's fine. I think
you and I are on the same page. We are. You and I are on the same page. We are missing the point. You're absolutely right because of him. And these parents, that's why they continue to talk out saying, let's talk about what happened to my daughter.
Right.
And I'm glad you're pushing that agenda because he's not. And a lot of NYPD officers, as great as they are, go ahead, Erica.
Well, I mean, this is something that we see all the time. We had the same thing when Botham Jean was murdered in his own apartment.
And we were talking about
the first thing that was said was that he had smoked marijuana that day. Like, I don't know what the agenda is. I mean, I know what the agenda is most of the time, but I think that it's great that they're being called on the spot right now, because when you're supposed to be out looking and trying to solve cases or protecting and serving, but you want to push an agenda in order to have a narrative shift in the way that you want to see, this is just the first time that we're seeing this happen so globally, or where we're actually talking about it. But we've always seen this happen, and I'm glad that we're calling it out for what it is.
Yeah, and I know we got to move on, but you always just you find the money and you find the motivation. And who would have an issue with marijuana being legalized? I don't know. Maybe prescription drugs. Maybe people are smoking marijuana instead of getting hooked on opioids if they have chronic pain. I would think that they might have a problem with marijuana being legalized because that's going to cut into their profits. So maybe you find a couple people with some platforms and throw a couple $100,000 in their account, and now just make sure that every time something comes up, you just throw the word weed in there.
Yeah.
And then after a while, when it comes back up on the ballot, now we don't have as much of a universal yes on it. So this has all been planned and pre-planned. This man is not a rogue, as you say, Erica. This isn't some lone wolf acting. This is a man who has constant money put in his account to do this.
Let's at least a lot of NYPD officers and the mayor and a lot of important people have criticized and condemned this NYPD union leader, and I'm glad that they're focusing on the investigation for this young girl. That's all that should matter.